everyone, Gina Craft District Instructional Technology Coach. I wanted to go over a couple of things with the Schoology Gradebook. It's wonderful when it works, but sometimes we run into some snags, and so I want to go through some quick troubleshooting to help make sure that your Schoology Gradebook is syncing correctly to Skyward. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to the grade setup. I'm just in a course, and within this grade setup, if you have categories that are weighted, so you have certain categories that are worth a larger or smaller percentage, you want to make sure that those are set up to total points. So in order to do that, I'm just going to click on the category, and then I can see this calculated by, this by default says percent. We want to change that to total points because that does affect the percentage that will go over into Skyward. So for each of your categories, if they're weighted, and only if they're weighted, you're going to want to make sure that you change that to total points and then save those changes so that it'll save. You will need to do this for each category, and you will need to do this for each grade book that you have set up. Once you have those total points, you can make sure that you have those categories set up. So on the left-hand side, you'll just go to the Skyward app, and you want to make sure that your categories are configured. So I'm going to go over here to configuration. If your categories are not configured, then it's not going to go over, and your categories absolutely have to be what is listed here. You can't have random categories because it won't configure over into Skyward. So you're going to want to make sure that those categories are configured. So in order to do that, you are just going to click the include category, and then that will come up with this weight if you'd like it, and then you're going to select what you would like it to be. So the Schoology course category, if it's not listed right here, if you haven't done this before, you'll just hit create new Schoology category, and then that is going to make your category, and then you're going to make sure that you scroll down and you're going to save that configuration. If you don't save the configuration, your categories will not save, and then it will not sync over. Again, you'll need to do this for each of your grade books. So if you have multiple grade books, you're going to need to make sure that you set up those categories for each of your grade books. If you have all of those different things that are set up and it's still not working, it's not looking correct, what you can do is we can look at some of the logs and see what some of our errors may be. So if I'm in my grade book, I can click on this view sync status log, and that's going to pull up essentially this menu just a little bit smaller. I'm going to stay in this larger menu though. And from here, you're able to see some details. You can see the name of the assignment. You can see when it last successfully synced, the status, and an action. If you see this little sync wheel, this is the ability to sync each individual assignment. So if you make a change and you want to sync individual assignments, you can click that sync wheel and it's going to sync that for you. When you are looking at some things, like I can see over here, this graphic organizer, there's an error. So I know that it did not go over to Skyward. And it says right here, it hasn't even synced yet. If I hover over the error, it says a category is required, which means that they did not use a category, so it's not going to be going over to Skyward. So you can look at those different logs and see some of those different errors. And in your gradebook, you can always push over those things. You can sync this to Skyward. So you can always push over some of those things prior to it doing it on its own, because that can take a little time. So there's just a couple of different troubleshooting things that might help you with your gradebook. If your gradebook is not syncing correctly, try some of those things and see if those help.